Christine. Welcome to yet another Harry Potter book talk. Today we're actually discussing my actual favorite book of all time. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling. Now, if you're just joining me for these Harry Potter book talks, like this isn't my first time reading Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I read it the day it came out. Got up at 6 a.m. and waited at the door for the mailman like a crazy person. And when it came, I ran outside to meet him and got it and ran upstairs and shut myself in my room. But Deathly Hallows is definitely the one that I remember the most. Not only because I've read it over most recently, but I read this one the most amount of times. As soon as I finished it, I started reading it again. This is my favorite book. I've been doing this reread via audiobook because that's the only way. I haven't read Harry Potter before. I've never heard Jim Dale read the books to me and do the voices. It's been amazing. If you haven't tried the Harry Potter audiobooks, reread them that way. If you're not aware, I'm actually an Audible affiliate. If you use my link, I'll put it in the description, and you sign up there, you get your first book for free, which is awesome. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I've been so emotional rereading this. So the thing is, I've been rereading the book and then immediately watching the movies now. And I've never really done it that way. I really kept my distance from book to movie. But reading this book and then immediately watching Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows parts 1 and 2 was like the best experience. The Deathly Hallows films are, in my opinion, the 2 best Harry Potter films. And I just found myself crying like over and over again while I was watching it because parts of those films enhance parts of this book. They make it better. And the score of the last film in particular, so good. I'm actually gonna go into spoilers now, so if you don't want to be spoiled and you haven't read the book, go read it. Start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. When you read, you begin with the Sorcerer's Stone. Bye, non-spoilery folk. Bye. Since I've read this, I've watched the movies so many times that the two have become muddled up in my mind. And now, after having reread this and rewatched the movie, it's so nice to be able to differentiate them in my brain. The first thing I noticed, which was way more intense in the book, was the 7 Potter scene. Now, not the scene where they just turn into the 7 Potters. The flight from Harry's house to the safe houses. In the movie, they just all go to the burrow, and I completely understand like why in the movie this was completely simplified. But in the book, each Harry and their protector are going to a different safe house, and then they take a port key to get to the burrow. So in the movie, they go up into the sky, they get attacked, and Hagrid brings them down onto like a Muggle highway and zooms around and all of that stuff, and it's visually fun. But in the book, this is so intense. They're up flying, they get surrounded, and Hagrid has to push the Dragonfire button. But do not touch this button because it's gonna be super dangerous, but if you need to get away from Death Eater's button. So he pushes the button, and Harry's sidecar begins to crack off. Hagrid sees that it's cracking off, and he's like, oh, Harry, I got it. And Harry's like, no, Hagrid, I got it! Before Harry can fix it with Reparo, Hagrid tries to Reparo it, and the sidecar breaks off. They're way up in the air, and Harry's sidecar just fucking breaks. It's just falling. So Harry has to Wingardium Leviosa himself. So he's like bobbing up and down because every time he does it, the car will float for a few seconds and then it'll start to fall again. Oh my god. And then Hagrid dives down with the motorcycle. He grabs Harry out of the sidecar. The sidecar falls to the earth and Harry is back to back on the motorcycle with Hagrid. Hedwig dies during all this chaos. I've never cried when Hedwig dies. When I was listening to the audiobook, I cried when Hedwig died. I don't know why I'm so emotional. I've never cried when Fred died. And when Fred died this time, I was like a wreck. And this is one of the big things we didn't get in the film was Fred's death scene where Percy tells a joke and Fred laughs. He's like, did you tell a joke, Percy? And then the wall explodes and Fred gets killed. And it's this really emotional moment because Harry and Ron and Hermione had just joined whatever duel was going on. Back to the flight to the burrow with Hagrid though. So they're back to back on the motorcycle. Harry, of course, classic Expelliarmus spells Stand Pike. The Death Eaters swarm, and one gets so close, he's gonna spell Harry, and Hagrid dives off the motorcycle and takes him down. They're in the air, and Hagrid jumps off and tackles the guy and falls to the earth. Now Harry's on the motorcycle by himself. I know in the movie, Hagrid gets spelled and he's like passed out on the motorcycle with Harry, but no, this was so much better. Seeing Hagrid dive off to protect him The things Hagrid does just touch my heart. So Harry's on the bike, he crashes to the ground, he's hysterical because he thinks he's lost Hagrid now. He's lost Sirius, he's lost Dumbledore, and now Hagrid has just dove off a bike down to the earth for him. And in the movie, they just kind of crash land the bike, they don't crash. Damn, what a scene! What a fantastic scene! We learn a little bit more about Horcruxes. Hermione stole a bunch of books that Dumbledore had been keeping in his office at the end of last year. And there is a way to pull your soul back together, but the pain of doing it is excruciating and can kill you. But the way to do it is to feel remorse, to be really, really sorry. I don't know if I ever made this connection. At the end, when Harry and Voldemort are circling each other in the Great Hall, Harry goes, "Try for some remorse, Riddle. I see what you become and you don't want to be that." I guess that would go toward healing his soul at least a little bit if he did try for some remorse. Another thing that I was wondering about last book, when you kill someone, does it always rip your soul apart, or is that something that only happens when you're making a Horcrux? In Snape's memories, Snape asks Dumbledore, if you're gonna die anyway, why not let the Malfoy boy kill you? And Dumbledore says, I don't want to damage that kid's soul. His soul is still whole. I don't want to be the one to rip it up. So it does. It damages your soul every single time you kill somebody. Ron is actively trying to start things up with Hermione. He has this book, The Wizard's Guides to Charming Witches, and he gives Harry a copy for her 17th birthday. Ron has started complimenting Hermione on things. She helps decorate for the wedding, and Ron's like, wow, Hermione, you really got an eye for that. Looks really nice. And Harry just thinks to himself, I'm definitely gonna find a chapter about compliments in that book. One of my favorite parts of the book that is not included in the film is the redemption of Kreacher. Kreacher's tale. Like, you completely forget the Dark Lord needed an elf, so Regulus volunteered Kreacher to go. Voldemort brings Kreacher with him into the cave. He has Kreacher drink the entire basin of liquid that Dumbledore drinks in the 6th book, and then Voldemort drops in the locket and leaves Kreacher there to die. And Kreacher is drawn under the water by all the Inferi, and it's only because Regulus called him back that he survived. Kreacher tells him everything that happens. A couple months later, Regulus turns against Voldemort. He has Kreacher show him where the locket is, and Regulus tells him to take the locket and destroy it and leave him behind, and Kreacher's forced to watch while Regulus dies. Harry sends him to get Mundungus Fletcher to ask him about the locket, and it's only Kreacher who comes back with Mundungus. In the movie, it's Kreacher and Dobby. And don't get me wrong, that's a fantastic scene. I love it. Kreacher's trying to talk, and Dobby keeps being like, and it's hilarious, and we want to see more of Dobby before we have that whole Dobby death scene. Don't get me started on how emotional I was. Literally, like, I don't think I cried the first time. I think I was upset, but I didn't tear up. I was so sad reading it, and then when I watched the movie last night, he's a free elf, and there's no other elves like him. Anyway, I was talking about Kreacher. Kreacher gets Mundungus Fletcher, and after we interrogate him, Harry gives Kreacher the fake locket that Regulus had placed in the basin. Kreacher is so grateful. He cleans the house now. He cooks them meals every day. He respects Harry. And on the morning that they're gonna go to the Ministry of Magic, he goes, I'm making steak and kidney pie for dinner tonight. I'll see you guys later. And then they leave, and they never come back. I'm sitting here reading, thinking to myself, Kreacher, the poor baby. Okay, the trio is now on the run, going from place to place, and they don't have any food, and they're starving all the time. Harry thinks to himself at one point, we didn't want to call Kreacher because who knows if some ministry person would have came with him because they might be in the house because Yaxley was pulled into the house. If they're secret keeper and they showed it to Yaxley, only Yaxley can get in. He's not a secret keeper too, right? That's not how the Fidelius charm works. Do you really think Yaxley was attached to Kreacher this entire time that they were on the run? If they had just called Kreacher, they could have gotten food. They could have had food all the time. He could have brought them food every day. Harry could have told them that if it wasn't safe to come, don't come. It's like the mirror in book 5. They had this way to get in contact with people. They could have sent Kreacher to talk to their families. They could have sent Kreacher for food. They could have sent Kreacher to try to find out information. They could have sent Kreacher for anything. No one knew that Kreacher was on Harry's side now. No one knew that he had had this change of heart. Every time they were hungry and Ron was complaining, and Ron was so annoying when they were on the road. Poor Hermione, like, she's not a fucking professional chef. You're in the wilderness. Meanwhile, they could have just called Kreacher. All Harry had to do was be like, Kreacher, and he would right in front of him. Something that hasn't really ever bothered me before this, but it bothered me this time while watching the film. Dobby wasn't wearing clothes. Dobby wears like a million hats and a million socks. Why couldn't we put some socks on him at least in the movie? The scene with the silver doe where they get the sword of Gryffindor. He's all alone. He sees the silver doe. He doesn't call Hermione before running after it. It leads to a lake. And without any preparation, he strips off in the middle of winter and jumps into the water. If I was gonna jump into freezing water, I'd make sure that Hermione was there just in case. I don't think someone's gonna dive in and get it while I run back and let her know that I'm about to dive into freezing cold water and maybe get hypothermia. Well, it's an idiotic move for Harry. It's a great moment in the book for Ron. I forgot that Ron not only saved Harry, but also was the one to get the sword of Gryffindor. And Harry never even got to the bottom to pick it up. In my last book talk, I was talking about how Voldemort has a Horcrux from each one of the Hogwarts founders, but Gryffindor, not only does he not have one from Gryffindor, the Gryffindor relic is the means of the other Horcruxes' destruction. Another thing I noticed reading the book and then watching the film, in the book, so many ideas or things that they find are found by Harry, or thought of by Harry. Harry figures out that R.A.B. is Regulus Black. He finds the room in the book. In the movie, Ron gets to find the room. In the book, when they've broken into Gringotts and they're in the basement and they're like, how are we gonna get out of here? Harry is the one to jump on the dragon's back. He climbs up and the other two climb on after him. I realized I actually like it better in the movie when Hermione is the one that comes up with that idea. It's such a great moment in the film where Hermione's like, I have an idea, but it's mad. This is why Hermione is Gryffindor. She blasts the balcony they're on apart, runs off and jumps onto the fucking dragon. In my previous book talk, I went on and on about how they should have stole Dumbledore's portrait. I was wondering whether that Dumbledore in the portrait knew all about the Horcruxes and the path that Harry was set on. Portrait Dumbledore knows everything. If we had only gone into the office at the end of book 6 and taken the portrait. I don't know, maybe the portrait's glued to the wall there. Maybe they can't move it. Maybe there's a thing going on. After everything is said and done and we've defeated Voldemort, we all go up there, the three of us. Dumbledore is so proud and he's crying in his portrait and we mend Harry's wand. Oh my god, this was such a huge thing. The first time I watched the movie, I couldn't believe it. So at the end, Harry, Ron, and Hermione go out onto this rubble bridge and Harry snaps the Elder Wand. He snaps it in half and throws it away. It hurt. It burned. It didn't fix your wand yet. It was such a satisfying moment in the book when he repaired his wand with the Elder Wand. We're so with Harry throughout the entire series, and that wand is a part of him. That wand feels like a family member that died and we need it. Without it, we can't function right. Then you feel it so hard when you read the book. And when he gets it back at the end, feels so good in the film. I gasped so loud when he cracked that thing in half. When they go to break into Gringotts, Hermione turns into Bellatrix. I think we learned in book 6 when Hermione tried to pass as a customer in Borgin and Burke's, she's not an actress. Why we let her turn into Bellatrix, I don't know. The first thing she does is like, good morning, especially in the film. Like, her attempts at being like Bellatrix are feeble at best. Meanwhile, we're here with Ron, who we've seen time after time is very good at impressions. In this book, he just goes down to the Chamber of Secrets and can open it in Parseltongue because he heard Harry do it when he's opening the locket. In the movie, it's like, Harry talks in his sleep, have you noticed? I don't think he's saying open in Parseltongue over and over again in his sleep, but okay, Ron. I think this is like a gender thing because Hermione was the girl, so she's Bellatrix, but Ron should have been Bellatrix. I'm sure you could take Polyjuice potion and turn into a member of the opposite sex. As long as it's human, it works. I think Ron would have killed it. In this book, again, when they're locked in the dungeon at Malfoy Manor and Pettigrew comes down and they attack him, someone calls down and is like, what's going on down there, Pettigrew? Ron is the one to say in Pettigrew's voice, nothing, everything's fine, and everyone just believes him. Ron should have been Bellatrix. In the book, I absolutely love when Harry returns to Hogwarts. He goes to the Ravenclaw common room. McGonagall comes in to check on what's going on. Amicus spits on McGonagall, and Harry whips off his invisibility cloak. He's like, you shouldn't have done that. Nobody insults my head of house. I love Professor McGonagall. I love her in the movie and I love her in the books. And I actually think the following scene where Harry tells McGonagall what's going on and they arm the castle is more emotionally impactful in the movie. I get excited when I read that part in the book, but every time I watch the film, I tear up during that scene where everyone comes together to defend Hogwarts. Starting at that moment when McGonagall is like, pronto locomotor, or whatever that spell is that brings the statues to life. Do-na, na, 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 na. And the suits of armor come down. Arm Hogwarts! Do your duty to the school! Beautiful. And the protective bubble is slowly coming together. That's one of my favorite scenes in all of the films. There's this one random part in the book where Harry's running by and he sees McGonagall go by with an army of desks. Charge! A scene that I love so much in the book that didn't have the same impact on me in the movie was when Ron and Hermione finally kiss. That kiss had been building over 7 books. And it comes when Ron is like, wait, what about the house elves? We gotta warn them. They had to evacuate. They're in danger. And Hermione's so touched. She just jumps him and they start making out. And Harry's on the side and he's like, guys, we're in the middle of a war! The house elves aren't part of the fight in the movie. And I forgot that there's a whole scene in the book where they come storming out of the kitchen and at the head of the house elves, and this brought me to tears, is Kreacher. Fight for my master, defender of house elves, Harry Potter. And he's Hermione, Ginny, and Luna are all dueling Bellatrix, which scared the shit out of me. And that is when Mrs. Weasley comes out of the crowd. Not my daughter, you bitch! And she moves everyone out of the way. Get out of the way! She's mine! And she goes to duel Bellatrix, and it is the best. I remember reading this for the first time and I was just so excited. Bellatrix goes, what's gonna happen to your children when I kill you? And Mrs. Weasley is like, you will never touch my children again. We never see Mrs. Weasley fighting and it was amazing to watch her eliminate Bellatrix. There are scenes in the film that aren't in the book at all that are amazing. The scene on the bridge with Neville, it just gets me every time. The infamous Voldemort Draco Malfoy hug. It was one of my favorite moments when I watched that. It was hilarious. It's things like that that make this movie stand out. There's this amazing moment in the book where a Death Eater is coming after Draco Malfoy. The trio is under the invisibility cloak and they pass by. Harry stuns the Death Eater for Malfoy. And Malfoy looks around like, oh, who did that for me? And Ron punches him from under the cloak. That's the second time we've saved your life tonight, you git! I'd love to hear your favorite parts of the book, your favorite parts of the film, what you wish they would have put in the film. Please share your thoughts, you guys, on anything I said or anything that I didn't say that you want to discuss. I'd love to hear it. I'm Christine. I make videos every Tuesday. All the links to all my social media are in the description. I'm at XTINEMAY on Twitter. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!